Hello everybody and thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying a beautiful classic American dry fly pattern called the 50 degrees. The hook is a size 12 dry fly hook, this one's from Partridge, and the thread I'll be using is UTC 70 in light tan. The original dressing for this fly calls for teal pin feathers, but a finely marked flank feather is a little bit easier to work with, and that's what I'm using here. The tail and the body hackle are both made from light blue dun. The dubbing for this fly, much like the original Adams, is that wonderful bluey grey-brown underfur from muskrat. So let's get started. I've run my thread down the length of the hook shank, and now I'm going to tie in my tails. I've taken a fairly sparse pinch, maybe 10 or 15 fibres of that blue dun cock, and I'm tying it in to make a tail about the same length as the body of the fly. Working my thread back forwards, I'll secure down the butt ends, and now we're in position to tie in that wing. I've taken a pinch of that nicely speckled, barred teal flank feather, and I've tried to keep it lined up so that the barring goes directly across the wings. It doesn't matter if it goes a little bit out of kilter, but it'll give a spotty effect rather than a banded effect. I've made several tight turns backwards, and now I'm coming in with my scissors and trimming away at an angle. That way the butts will help to contribute to a slight taper in the body of the fly. I've secured down the cut ends, worked my thread back to the tie-in point, and now I'm going to make several tight wraps underneath the wing to prop it upright. I'm happy with that position, so now looking from the top, I'm going to divide that bunch of fibres into two, and we're going to split these to make our wings. A couple of diagonal wraps, and then drawing the near side wing backwards, a couple of diagonal wraps in the other direction, and that provides enough of a buffer between them that it'll keep them nicely separated. Now to reinforce, I'm going to do a couple of locking wraps, and then a turn around the base of each wing, and that's going to help to pinch those fibres together, create a nice solid wing base. And there we go, once around, and then a locking turn underneath. Position the wings to my liking, and that's those all tied in. Now I can return my thread down to the base of the tail, because we're ready to add the dubbing. This is a really simple pattern at its core, but it uses the play between the natural material colours beautifully. There's nothing dyed in this pattern, just a natural blue dun cock hackle and this fabulous bluey grey muskrat underfur. I've taken a small pinch of that underfur, cleaned it of any guard hairs and any messy bits and anything that gets picked up from the tying desk, and I'm going to dub on a really fine dubbing rope. I don't want to add too much bulk to the body of this fly. I want it to be fairly slender and then taper upwards towards the thorax. So just adding small pinches of the dubbing here and there till the rope's to my satisfaction. And then I'm going to start wrapping forwards, being careful not to disturb the tail too much, working forwards and just building a little bit of a taper up towards the body of the fly. Now that we've reached the thorax, it's time to tie in our hackle. I've prepared this by stripping all the barbs off the bottom of the feather stem, and then some of the barbs off the far side, so that I can get a really nice clean first wrap to guide the rest of my turns. I'm bending that bare stem forwards, carrying it past the wing, then coming in with my scissors, lifting up the very tip and trimming off the excess. That way it's not going to crowd the hook eye. A couple more turns to secure down that very end, and now we're ready to wrap. I'm aiming to make a fairly neat but reasonably dense hackle for this fly. Keep it floating nice and high in the water, much like an insect. Just working in touching turns forwards, drawing the wing forward and out of the way. Getting a little bit close here, but I reckon I can get one more turn in behind. So I pull the wing forward, make my wrap, and then draw the wing backwards. This is a long enough feather, even though it's a cape feather, that I can just go hand over hand rather than using hackle pliers. I find that this gives me a little bit more control. 3 more turns in front of the wing, and we're ready to tie off. Make a couple of tight wraps over the top of the feather, then lift it up, bend the stem backwards, and drawing any stray fibres out of the way, build up a small head. Now we can trim away, whip finish, and that's the fly finished. Here's a look at the finished fly. We've got those nice barred wings that present a very natural profile from underneath, A nice bushy hackle and long tail to keep it riding high, and that fluffy abdomen to add some life. It's an absolute classic dry fly pattern, and easy enough to tie, so do give this one a go. Thanks for watching.